Imagine this. You've just gone through the heartbreak of a divorce. You're still healing, still trying to put the pieces of your life back together. And then, not even a week later, your ex-husband, yes, the man who once swore he'd love you forever, gets married to his so-called perfect dream woman. But here's the twist. The moment I saw her face, I couldn't stop laughing. And trust me, the reason why will blow your mind. When my marriage ended, I won't lie, it shattered me. We had been together for almost a decade, building what I thought was a stable life. I had stood by him through job losses, late nights, and even the messy arguments that should have been warning signs. But when the divorce papers were finally signed, it felt like I had been tossed aside like yesterday's trash. He moved on so fast, as if I had never existed. I thought maybe he needed time, maybe we needed space. But oh no, less than 7 days after the ink had dried, I got the news. He had remarried. The whispers spread quickly through our old friend group, and soon enough, the truth came out. Apparently, my ex-husband had found his perfect match. He paraded her around like some prize, bragging about how she was everything he had ever wanted. Beautiful, stylish, confident. At least that's what he claimed. And you know what stung the most? He said she was nothing like me. Not in looks, not in personality, not in anything. It was his way of saying, you were never enough. Of course, I wasn't invited to the wedding. Why would I be? But in small towns, secrets don't stay secrets for long. Photos popped up on social media, and mutual friends couldn't wait to gossip. One friend in particular, Lisa, sent me a message. You need to see this. I swear you're going to laugh. I hesitated. Did I really want to torture myself by looking at pictures of my ex-husband, smiling with his new bride? But curiosity got the better of me. I opened the album, bracing myself for pain. The first picture was of him in his tuxedo, grinning ear to ear. Typical. The next was a shot of them together at the altar. And then I saw her. My jaw dropped. At first, I thought I was seeing things. I rubbed my eyes and looked again. Her face, her smile, even the way she tilted her head. It was me. No, I don't mean it literally. She wasn't my twin. But this so-called perfect dream woman looked almost exactly like me. The same hair color, the same freckles across the nose, the same style of clothes I used to wear when I was with him. It was like he had gone shopping for a budget version replica of me. And suddenly, instead of feeling hurt, I laughed. I laughed so hard I cried. Here was a man who swore he was done with me, who acted like I was the problem, like he wanted someone better. And yet, when it came down to it, he married someone who was basically my clone. It was the most ridiculous, pathetic thing I had ever seen. That laughter, it wasn't just about her face. It was about finally realizing the truth. He didn't leave me because I wasn't enough. He left me because he couldn't control me anymore. He wanted the illusion of me, just in a version he thought he could mold. That night, something inside me changed. The sadness, the insecurity, the self-doubt, it all started to fade. Because here's the thing, if he had truly moved on, he would have chosen someone different. But instead, he chose someone who reminded him of me. And you know what that means? No matter how hard he tries, he'll never escape me. But this was only the beginning. Because while he was busy parading his new dream woman around town, I was quietly planning something he never saw coming. And when I finally got my revenge, let's just say, it left him wishing he had never walked away from me. Remember when I told you I laughed after seeing my ex-husband's new wife because she looked like my carbon copy? Well, that laughter turned into something else. Motivation. Because while he thought he had traded me in for an upgraded version, what he didn't realize was that I had the power to turn his so-called dream life into a nightmare. After the initial shock wore off, I did what most people don't expect after a messy divorce. I worked on myself. I took the energy I had wasted on that marriage and poured it into rebuilding my career, my friendships, and my confidence. For years, I had let him dim my light, always making me feel like I wasn't enough. But now I was free. And while I was climbing up, guess what he was doing? Sliding further and further down. It didn't take long for the rumors to start. Friends whispered about arguments, about how his new wife wasn't as perfect as he claimed. Apparently, she had her own mind, her own goals, and surprise, she wasn't about to be controlled either. Sound familiar? The irony was delicious. He had run away from me, only to land himself in the exact same situation. Now here's where fate really worked in my favor. Remember how I said I poured myself into my career? Well, the company I joined ended up expanding, And guess who applied for a contract with us? Yep, my ex-husband's new business. And guess who was in charge of reviewing applications? Me. The first time his name appeared on my desk, I nearly choked on my coffee. I could practically see his smug face, thinking he was about to land a big deal. But when I opened the proposal, it was sloppy, full of mistakes, overconfident, underprepared, and in that moment I realized he still hadn't changed. I didn't reject him right away, though. Oh no, that would have been too easy. Instead, I let him think he had a chance. I scheduled meetings. I asked tough questions. I made him sweat. Because nothing tastes sweeter than watching the man who once belittled you beg for your approval. Here's the kicker. During one of those meetings, he brought his new wife along. The moment she walked in, the room went silent. Everyone saw it. She wasn't just similar to me. She was practically a mirror image. People whispered, exchanged looks. And the best part? She noticed it too. Her eyes flicked between me and him, and I could see the insecurity flicker across her face. That was the moment I knew their perfect marriage wasn't so perfect after all. When it came time to give my verdict on his contract, I could have rejected him outright. But I chose something better. I strung him along just long enough for him to sink time, money and resources into the project. Then, when the deadline came, I denied his application. Politely, professionally, but firmly, watching him squirm, watching the color drain from his face. It was the closure I never knew I needed. But here's the thing. That wasn't the end. Because while crushing his business was satisfying, the real revenge came when his new wife discovered the truth about our marriage and about why he had married her so fast. And trust me, when she found out, everything exploded. So, I'd already rejected my ex-husband's desperate business deal. But the real fireworks came later, when his new wife learned the truth about me, about him, and about why she had been dragged into this mess. A few weeks after I crushed his contract, I ran into his new wife at a cafe. I expected glares, maybe a confrontation. But instead, she walked up to me with trembling hands and said, "Can we talk?" I agreed out of curiosity. And what she told me floored me. She admitted that she knew about me. She knew I existed, but he had painted me as the crazy ex-wife who never supported him. But then she saw how I carried myself, how I worked, how people respected me. And slowly, the cracks in his story started to show. And then she said the words that made my jaw drop. "I think he only married me because I look like you." She wasn't wrong. Everything he had done, his insults, his quick rebound, even the wedding wasn't about love. It was about control, ego, and trying to prove he was better off. But instead of proving it, he had trapped himself in a marriage doomed to fail. And she wasn't about to let him get away with it. A few months later, I heard through mutual friends that she had left him. Not just left, but taken half of what he owned in the process. Apparently, she had quietly gathered evidence of his lies, his manipulation, and his financial recklessness. By the time she walked out, she didn't just break his heart, she broke his bank account. When I heard the news, I didn't feel pity. I felt peace. Because here's the thing. I never had to lift a finger to destroy him completely. His own choices, his own arrogance, and his own obsession with me had done it for him. And as for me, I was thriving, free, laughing at the irony that the perfect dream woman he left me for had become the final nail in his coffin. So what's the lesson here? Sometimes revenge doesn't mean screaming, fighting, or plotting. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is living well, standing tall and letting karma do the rest. Because in the end, the man who thought I wasn't enough ended up losing everything. And me, I couldn't stop laughing.